by the association.
Today is an example of a professional development day, an activity for me and for my colleagues.
I'm finding it an incredibly helpful organization just in terms of resources.
There's the fellowship and just being with people who have a shared body of knowledge and set of skills and feel passionate about the value of working with couples and families.
I'm finding the workshops and the training to be really practical and helpful and hands-on in terms of my own practice. I find the organization to provide a great support network, peer support as well as supervising. It makes you feel like you're not alone.
First of all, I want to point out that reconciliation is an interpersonal achievement. Reconciliation cannot be achieved by one person. Forgiveness is possible to do individually. You can forgive another person without them even knowing that you've forgiven them, but reconciliation is impossible unilaterally. It has to entail both parties have to be involved, so it's a mutual achievement. Right? I also want to point out how reconciliation itself presupposes that there was previously a trusting relationship and that trust has been broken in some way. And I found that this definition of reconciliation as the restoration of trust very useful because of the focus on trust and looking at trust as a core issue to try to bring forth in the process of reconciling. When we look at trust, I think it's useful to look at the various components of trust, and there's three components that arise for me that are important. In order to trust somebody else, first of all, you need to believe that the other person shares some core values with you. You know, that they believe in, say, mutual respect, they believe in fairness, they believe in honesty, or whatever it might be, that you have to believe that they have the same values basically that you have. Okay? Secondly, in order to trust another person, you have to believe that the other person has good intentions towards you. They may have the same values, but if they don't intend to be kind or supportive of you, then you find it hard to trust them. Right? Thirdly, and this I think is even more important for us as therapists, is that in order to believe or to trust another person, you need to believe that not only do they share the same values, they have good intentions towards you, but they have the competence to make good on those good intentions. Often in situations of unresolved conflict, there's a lot of attention paid to the mistrust, that people can't trust, and so forth. I don't find the focus on mistrust that useful. I find it far more useful to focus on trustworthiness. Like, what can be done to make it possible for the other person to trust, rather than to, as it were, blame the person who can't yet trust, which is often the case. And so I think that's useful to shift onto trustworthiness rather than the mistrust. The other issue that I found useful to consider with regard to the notion of trust is to help people to learn above suspicion when the issue has to do with not doing something that was done before that was so hurtful. Like if there's some kind of abuse that occurred, I mean, it's hard to prove that you're not going to do something, right? And so one needs to sort of organize oneself to live in such a way that people don't even get suspicious of you. And learning to live above suspicion is a very valuable orientation to invite people to enter into. And once conflict does emerge in a relationship, it tends to spread and deepen, you know, through the relationship system, unless it's addressed in some way. Okay? And you as a therapist, by acknowledging some of the trauma and hurt, can already initiate a healing process. And sometimes I find that it's almost like it's an apologetic process by proxy. You know, like I can say, I'm really sorry that you were hurt in this way. I mean, this must have been a very painful experience for you. And for a therapist to convey that is already beginning to enter into the dynamic of apologizing and forgiving.
My impressions were that he was very intentional, but also very specific about about how cycles of shame and guilt, apology and forgiveness, victim and offender work together.
It was wonderful to have Karl Tomm here today. He is one of my very favorite and most influential foundational resources for my work as a therapist and as a supervisor.